So I asked you guys to let me know what it is that we plant YouTubers do that you do not like and you want us to do less of or even not at all. And I feel like videos like this are extremely important because at the end of the day, we are making content for you guys, you the viewer. That is why it is called YouTube and not Me Too. So this is actually a great way for even current or aspiring YouTubers to improve on their craft. And I'm thankful that all of you guys kept it cool and classy here. Nothing was said in spite. Everything was really constructive. And I also found it extremely helpful as well. Okay, so without much ado, let's get to the nitty-gritty. So I actually divided each one of your comments into various topics so it doesn't seem like we're all rambling here, and also because some of the comments were like really similar, I just divided them into various topics that seem to be the bone of contention, right? And we're going to address each one of these topics together. All right, let's proceed. So the first topic that a couple of you actually raised is creators that make plant videos without providing context. I resonate so deeply with this comment here because I experienced this. It is important to provide context about your geographical location so that people have a better idea of how to sieve that information and apply it to their own geographical location. And this is where I'm going to need to call out the American girlies. I love you, my American girlies. You guys actually make the bulk of my viewers. But when it comes to American houseplant creators, and it's the houseplant girlies, because the gardening girlies, they have been sensitized to know that they have to state their zones. But when it comes to these houseplant creators, especially my American houseplant creators, I feel like you guys forget that your audience is not just US based. They are also watching your content from Australia, from the Netherlands, from Africa. So if you're providing information, you have to contextualize it, especially as regards the care and the growing environment of that plant. Okay, especially for beginners, because you know beginners are really impressionable. A good example is when some creators will say, okay, give this plant 6 to 7 hours of full sun. Forgetting that full sun varies depending on your climate. 6 hours of full direct sun for the Canadian girlies is nothing to be compared to 6 hours of full direct sun for us here in the tropics with a higher UV index. The plant will die. The plant will be fried to pieces. This is why you should always contextualize. Alright? This is why I say things like Nigerian sun. So you guys have a bit of an idea that, okay, this person is in the tropics, so I should sieve that information and apply it with sense to my own plant. My American YouTubers, I want you to just be a bit more aware and provide context about your growing conditions, about your location, as opposed to speaking so categorically. Okay? You also need to provide context about the plants, as some of you actually rightfully pointed out. You know, don't just buy a plant and then you're giving us care information about a plant you've had for just 2 weeks. No, darling, that's actually quite deceptive. You need to provide context as to how long you have had this plant so people can have a better idea and not feel like they're doing something wrong with their own plant or their collection. And also your growing conditions in that plant. Someone like me who actually grows plants both indoors and outdoors, I have the climate to grow plants indoors and outdoors. It is going to be very insincere and deceptive of me to come and show a plant that had grown outdoors for a year and I've only grown indoors in my care for like 2 weeks, and to start providing care information without disclosing the growing conditions I have of this plant. So the viewers are basically telling us that they want to see more context about the growing conditions you have and also more context about the plants. Okay, how long you've had that plant for and also the growing conditions you have the plant in. Another topic that was brought up repeatedly by a couple of you guys is the issue of long introductions and also the length of videos. We're going to talk about long introductions first. It goes without saying that in 2025 and beyond, there is no need for long introductions. In fact, introductions, some will even argue that introductions are not even needed these days. Just go to the nitty-gritty. You know, my favorite quote is nitty-gritty. Just go to the nitty-gritty. The average attention span of human beings now is at an all-time low, and there are so many things that are distracting us. So I feel like you're actually doing a disservice to your channel and also to your audience if you have this lengthy introduction. Also, let's talk about the issue of long and lengthy videos, and I can provide some perspective as somebody who is a monetized plant YouTuber. Okay, so before I became serious on YouTube and before I became monetized on YouTube, I used to just see people that had all these long videos, like 2 hours, 3 hours. I used to find this so odd and bizarre. Like, why would anyone want to watch a video for 3 hours? Like, oh my god. But when I became monetized, I realized that the longer your videos are, the more ad revenue you get from that video. Now, this is where I want you as the audience to put yourself in the shoes of such creators, right? Stay with me for a second. Now, if you're a full-time houseplant YouTuber, this is your full-time gig. Sometimes you might need to make your videos as long as possible so you have something decent to take home at the end of the day. Now, for someone like me that lives in a country that has a really low cost of living, especially if you earn in hard currency like dollars, ad revenue here can actually go a long way. Right now, I'm not making a lot. If you want to have an idea of how much I make on average on YouTube, I made a video about it. I'm going to link it in my description. I'm not making a lot, but it still goes a long way because I live in Nigeria. Like, our currency is very weak against the dollar. But if you live in a country like Canada, like the US or the UK, where the cost of living is 10 times higher and you are a full-time plant YouTuber, then you will find yourself having to make these longer videos so you can actually pay your bills. So in a way, I understand and I sympathize, and I'm not as critical, but I feel like there should be like a sweet spot, and I feel like the audience should also be taken into consideration as well. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say on that. But let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you're a curator or if you're a viewer, just let me know your thoughts in this topic or what we've discussed about so far in this video. Another issue that was brought up, and this was actually a very profound one for me and like a major lesson, and girlies, please listen carefully because viewers don't play when it comes to this. It is the issue of credibility and integrity. I'm going to talk about credibility. You don't like it when plant YouTubers do not credit the source of their information, especially when it is apparent that they're pretty much just repeating the same information or essentially copying from one person to another. And it's actually very, very easy to notice that in this niche because YouTube will always recommend videos based off of what you watch. So if someone watches this houseplant video that I make and they like it, I can bet the next recommendation is going to be another house plant video from another creator. I feel like it is really, really important to always credit the source of your information, whether they are another creator or even if they are offline. It's always important to acknowledge that this is something I learned. I've said this here before. Oh, I learned this from a veteran gardener. I learned this from this. And I think that's very important because it makes you seem like a credit, I was going to say credit worthy, makes you seem like a credible person. And at the end of the day, look, we're all like enthusiasts. Most of us didn't go to school for this. We're all just learning on the job or learning from others. So no one is saying don't copy, but like some of you have pointed out, it's important to always credit. And I'm going to give you a perfect example. I'm going to give credit to where credit is due now. I watched a video by Sean of Only Plants where he toured a grower who grows and sells Hoyas, and the grower actually said that Hoyas actually intentionally attract mealybugs. They secrete like a nectar or a substance that attracts mealybugs because they know that in turn the mealybugs will attract ants, and ants are the pollinators for a lot of these Hoyas. I didn't know that. Like it just made so much sense as to why Hoyas are so mealybug prone. It is their nature. That's how they pollinate themselves. So you see what I did? I actually learned from that video from Only Plants, and now I'm crediting the creator and also invariably crediting, the grower that provided me with that mind-changing information. Okay, so let's do more of that as aspiring YouTubers or as current YouTubers. Now, the next subject in this particular topic is the issue of integrity, and I feel like this goes without saying, it is extremely important. Integrity as regards, especially when working with brands or ad placements. Some of you actually pointed out that it is actually really important to state clearly that this is an ad, or make it as apparent to the viewer that this is just an ad, right? When I read this comment, I was like, because when you receive these briefs from like the company, they don't want you to make it seem like it's an obvious ad, right? But I feel like the viewer at the end of the day is right, and I feel like it's your job as an influencer or as a content creator to convince people to use a product or to use a brand. If you're truly an influencer and somebody who's credit worthy, I don't think you even have to convince your viewers that hard, because they value you and they value your opinions and they've seen that you're a credit-worthy person. They're willing to try that product even though they know it's an obvious ad. So this is something I actually also learned, and it made me realize that viewers value credibility and integrity extremely. It's very paramount, and it's something that you should hold to standard as a creator. Okay, another topic that was touched on by a couple of you guys is the lack of personality / personal style, and I've talked about this in a similar video that I made. Like this person pointed out here, at the end of the day, you are actually speaking to a human being. You are a human being. I get that this is actually a plant page, right? And this is a house plant channel. But at the end of the day, you're a human being speaking to a fellow human being. So you want to be relatable, right? You are not a lecturer. I've said this before. You're not a lecturer. This is not a seminar. This is not a PhD conference. You're not even an expert. Most of us are not experts. You're just somebody like me, like you watching, who just has plants and happens to be talking to us on the camera. You don't have a PhD, you don't have a qualification, so don't sound so uptight. Please, relate to us like we're your homegirls, like we're your besties. And also, when it comes to the issue of personality, you don't have to have a huge and a boisterous personality. You don't have to have a very animated or over the top personality, right? Just be yourself. That is what personality is all about, right? Just be yourself. And it doesn't have to be loud or boisterous, like I pointed out. It could also be calming and centering, which is why I really love Benji Plant's video, and it just hurts me what has happened to his collection, but I'm believing that the Lord will restore it back bountifully. I'm keeping him in my prayers. But Benji Plant has such a calming presence, has such a calming, centering presence that, I just like to watch his video because I feel calm. And that person whose content I enjoy watching is Sober Plant guy. Calming, he's not doing too much. He just has a reassuring, calming presence about him. And some people like it the same way some people like that I am animated. They like this. So just be your authentic self. You will find your audience and you'll find people that like you for being you. Now, the issue of personal style. People want to see your personal style reflected in your collections and how you style your plants. A couple of you pointed out that you are tired of seeing the same IKEA setup. White spots. This person said white spots. You're tired of seeing the same copy and paste setup. The viewers want a reflection of your personal style in your collection, in the way you style your plants, the pots you use. A creator I love that does this from time to time, and I don't even think she knows that she does this, is Wild Fern. I love the little knickknacks, the little way she decorates her pots, and the little colors of pots she uses. So basically, they are saying just infuse your personal style. Okay, don't go and copy and paste that generic style when it comes to your collection. And that's something I'm going to even do more of. Another issue that was brought up was the issue of plant tours. And this is where I learned a lot from, because it really answered a lot of the questions I had as regards how I do my plant tours, how my audience likes to see my plants showcased in my plant tours, right? Now, you guys said that when it comes to plant tours, you really like to see how the plants are displayed and styled. Okay. It made me understand that you guys are watching plant tours for the holistic experience, not just the plants, but how the plants are displayed and how they are styled. That way you can get inspiration about how to style yours, and it also give you an idea of the growing conditions of that plant. So it made so much sense. I'm always someone that whenever I'm making my plant tour or house plant tour videos, I'm always like, do I bring the plant out? Do I show? Do I do this? Because at the end of the day, it's a plant tour video, so you want the plant to be in frame as much as possible. But you guys have said, which even makes it easier for me, you guys have said, please just show us not just the plants, but also just consider showing us how the plants are styled and displayed. Okay. Thank you very much for that. Another one that I'm so guilty of, this person mentioned and highlighted here the importance of stating the botanical names of these plants. And I feel like sometimes we might just tend to either not put the names, especially if you're really lazy. The video is very long and you're tired of editing and you're like, but this is a Monstera Adansonii. Everybody knows what a Monstera Adansonii is. It will shock you that some do not know, especially beginner plant parents. And also, I think botanical names are quite important, because if you just go by common names vary across the globe, and it might still be difficult for people to figure out what exact plant that is by the common name. So like the botanical names, or even if you can't put the full botanical name, maybe just the genus name, especially if you're dealing with a plant that is a hybrid, like aglaonemas. There are so many different hybrids and cultivars. So once people have an idea of like, this is an aglaonema, it gives them at least where to start from when they are searching. So yes, I really feel that. Now this one is my own personal opinion. None of you actually said this, but I feel like this has to be said when it comes to plant tours. Babes, that is why it is called a plant tour. Please focus on the plant. Don't focus on yourself, okay? I feel like with some of these plant tours, like the person just tries to be in frame so much with the plant that we end up seeing less of the plant and more of the person. I get that you want us to see your beautiful, handsome face, but we did not click because of you. We clicked because of the tour of that plant. Focus on the plant. I remember recently I was watching a video of somebody who grows palms indoors, beautiful palms indoors, and I was so intrigued, like, how are you able to grow these huge exotic tropical plants, tropical palms indoors? But when I watched the video, I could barely even see the palms. All I kept seeing was his gorgeous face. He's a handsome man, but all I kept seeing was the face. I wanted to look at the palms. You don't have to be in frame with that plant when it comes to plant tours. Just turn your camera around and focus on the plant. Am I the one that feels this way? Please let me know if you agree in the comments. Okay. This next one is on the topic of not providing value. And I feel like this comment just completely sums it up. And the problem I have with also plant tour videos or making them. Now, as a content creator, whether you're making content for YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, whatever app, the most important thing is that that content must have value. By value, I mean either in terms of entertainment, education, inspiration, or even a curiosity value. There should be something that your viewer has taken out of watching that video. You've either entertained them, you've made them laugh, you satisfy their curiosity, or a mix of all, or even any of that. That is what content is. That is what creating content is. You are providing value. That should always be your watchword. If you're making that video and there is no inherent value in that video, you just wasted the time of your viewer. Okay, all right, so darlings, we've come to the end of this video. I actually was really nervous making this video, and this is my second take because I didn't want to come across as being like very spiteful. I didn't want that to be the intention of this video at all. I wanted it to actually be constructive, and I wanted people, whether you were a current plant YouTuber or an aspiring one, I wanted you to actually genuinely learn and improve. And I hope that's the case. I, for one, found it very, very helpful. I'm the type of person that is always open to constructive criticism. I always want to be good. I always want to be the best at what I'm doing. So I personally found your comments extremely helpful. Thank you for sending them. Anyways, if you liked this video, make sure you like and subscribe and share it amongst your friends, your groups, your Facebook groups. Share it. Let's kiki. And also let me know your thoughts in the comments as well. All right. See you in the next one.